What happened in the early months of the rebellion? Remember, the rebellion was the slaves fighting for their freedom. From the first night, the slave revolt was the largest and most violent yet experienced in the American colonial world. Enslaved people, or slaves, led rebellions on plantations throughout the North, burning fields, sugar processing facilities, and homes. So, what was a big part of the rebellion? How did they rebel? Burning fields. So, they set fields on fire because that was going to make the biggest difference because the planters would lose money. And they would burn down the whole facilities, like the mills where they turned the sugar cane into sugar, and the colonists' homes, so they had no homes to live in. So it was a really big way of doing the rebellion without hands-on fighting, and they could start the fire and then escape. The insurrection, or the revolt or rebellion or fight, quickly grew. Over the next several months, enslaved people, or slaves, on more and more plantations in the North rose up. They were armed with torches, which set the fires, guns, sabers, and makeshift weapons. They spread from plantation to plantation. So they would steal these weapons, and then they would pass them on to people who were still in slavery, so those weapons could be used to fight. By the end of September, the rebels had burned more than 1,000 plantations and killed hundreds of whites. They had also burned Captain Francais, the largest city in the colony, to the ground. So how did the whites respond? So the whites panicked, they got scared, and they sent frantic requests, please, to the military, come and help us. They sent it to Santo Domingo, which, remember, was on the same island as them, but Spain was overseeing that colony. They also sent requests to Cuba, which is close by, Jamaica, which is close by, and the United States. And it says, to no avail. That means the whites panicked, but nobody would help them, even though they asked. Other whites increased their repression of the remaining slave populations. So that means some of the other white slave owners became more strict and more harsh with their slaves. They sought to uncover new plots and conspiracies, and killed hundreds of slaves in an attempt to limit the spread of the revolt. So whites were freaking out, asking for help. They weren't getting help. So then they started to be even meaner to the slaves. And because they were afraid that they were going to get killed and that the slaves were going to revolt against them, they killed hundreds of slaves in an attempt to stop the revolt.